Welcome to day 43 of how to automate your law firm in 90 days. I am Shay Jackson, your AI automation specialist. We are continuing with our use cases for Google's Notebook LM. On day 42, I showed you how you could upload documents and have a use case where we used our chat for legal research and case preparation. In this video, we are continuing with that legal research use case, but now I'm going to show you the power of Notebooks LM Studio. Let's dive in. Let's get started. I am in my Notebook LM, and the notebook we are continuing to use is the one created for hour and wage case law for California. If you haven't seen the first part where we interact with the chat, I will have a link up top. All I did was upload 4 resources, but just in case this is your first video, welcome by the way, you have the ability to upload 50 sources into one notebook. Okay, this is just one. So imagine just the different types of notebook you can create for your law firm, whether it's for junior attorneys, wanting to get quick research information. Whatever the case may be, you can create different notebooks for different categories that you would like to have. The different types of sources you can use, just a brief review again, are PDFs, .txt, Markdown, audio, like for instance, MP3. If you have documents in Google Drive, you can use your Google Docs, Google Slides, with links from a website, YouTube. And one thing for the website, it only looks at what's on that specific page, okay? And just as an example, let's say that there was a link that I gave and it was just to this notebook, only the information covered and that you can see on this specific page of the website. That's the information it would use, okay? Another link you can use is YouTube, and also you can copy and paste information, okay? Great. So here's our uploaded information. And as I mentioned, for day 42, what we did was we stayed here using our legal documentation to ask questions about giving a summarization of rulings, also giving key points and all of that. So we were housed right here in the chat area. Now, if you were looking at that video and you were asking, well, Shay, what about this area? So glad you asked, okay? So one of the things that I want to do, and if you notice, like right here, add a note. One of the things we did in the last video, when we were looking at the summary of case rulings, what I did was it gives you the option to add a note like it does right here, okay? So I clicked Save to Note. Here is our notes section, and this is what is saved. So this is all of the summary of the case, the lawsuit rulings that are for these documents over here, okay? Here's that information. One of the things that I want to mention as well, so let me minimize that. All right. One of the things that I also wanted to mention that I didn't in the last video is when you see how all of our sources are selected. Well, let's say that there are only a couple of sources that you want to select. All you would need to do is select those sources. You don't have to select all of them, okay? Now, what I want to do is, one, show you that we added a note for our case rulings, and it was right here, but you have the same option over here as well. Also, you see audio overview. That's interesting. What does audio overview mean? And you see here, audio overview is right here, and it's right here as well. So either I can click it where it's for our chat in our chat box, or I can click it over here. It says deep dive conversations to host English only, and I can generate an audio overview, and I'm going to click that. And we'll go ahead and let it churn. You see, it says generating conversations based on four sources, and the four sources are the ones that are over here. Okay, this may take a few minutes, no need to stick around. We're going to stick around since, this is a video. Hopefully, as I mention other things and go over other things as well, that'll give it time to go ahead and give an audio overview. So let's go back over here and let's look at Mind Map. I'm going to click on Mind Map. And you see right here, it says new mind map. It's generating a mind map. So let's open that, and it says legal cases in labor law. And what it does, which is pretty cool, and just imagine, and again, I said it in the last video, I know I only used 4 different sources. You have a chance to use 50. So just imagine the opportunities, the choices you can have with whatever you're trying to use NotebookLM for. Okay. And all it's listing are the 4 different class action lawsuits that are uploaded. Morales versus Aramark, Berlanga, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, versus Equiline Enterprises, Diaz versus Grill Concepts Services, and Wang versus Chinese Daily News Inc. Okay, so here is showing the legal cases in labor law. I'm going to click one of these arrows to see what it says. Class action settlement, final approved, granted, jurisdiction over claims, final class certification, settlement amount 39,000, dismissal of action with prejudice, and court retains jurisdiction for enforcement. And you see, as I am hovering over this, it has a, oh, okay. I thought that it was going to continue on. Okay. So that's that. Oh, and it's bringing it over here. So let me exit out of here. You notice it was trending over there in the chat model. And here is the information that is giving. Discuss what these sources say about final approval granted in the larger context of class action settlement. Okay. And here's the information for Morales versus Aramark. Let me see if it gives it for any other. I think that's just the one because that's the one that I clicked. Okay. So that's it. That's how Mind Map works. Okay. You see that our audio overview is done. Great. I want to stay over here in the notes section so we can look at the different options we have for this as well in NotebookLM Studio. So here I can click study guide. You see that it's generating to create a study guide for us. And that should just take a couple of minutes since it's only 4 sources. And let's see what that study guide looks like. Okay, it's done. California Labor and Business Law Case Studies. So I'm going to click on that. And here, the study guide, it gives the case summaries for all of the sources that I uploaded. Key legal concepts, class action, a lawsuit in which a group of people with similar claims collectively bring an action in court. So even if, and I know this is for how to automate your law firm in 90 days, but think about just the opportunities. Think about the different directions you can take using this. Okay. Basically, if there's something that you want to learn new, just to give a disclaimer, I am not a law student. I'm not in law. I am a techie, AI automation specialist, hence also AI agents. You can click subscribe so you can follow me. But if I wanted to learn about law, here is information that even if I didn't know what it was, I can look at this, and again, it's a study guide to help me. Labor Management Relations Act, a federal law that governs later labor management relations. Section 301 of the LMRA can preempt state law claims that are substantially dependent on the interpretation of collective bargaining agreements. Great study guide. Okay. Do y'all see this? And then it also has a quiz. Wow. So this is, I think, would be a great study tool. I know I mentioned law students. That would be a great study tool. Junior accountants as well. So I'm sorry, not junior accountants, junior attorneys as well. What was the outcome of Morales versus Aramark Corporation? And what was the significance of the 39,000 settlement amount? Well, I don't know because I didn't read all the documentation, but let's scroll down and let's see because here is the quiz answer key. The outcome of Morales versus Aramark Corporation was the final approval of a joint stipulation of settlement and release, leading to the dismissal of the action with prejudice. The 39,000 settlement amount was specifically designated to be paid to the California Labor and Workforce Development Agency pursuant to the California Private Attorneys General Act. Wow, this is pretty cool here. And you see it gives you 10 questions for your quiz. And here are the answers as well. And then here are essay format questions. Compare and contrast the legal arguments and outcomes regarding preemption in Berlanga versus Equiline Enterprises LLC and Wang versus Chinese Daily News. What factors did the courts consider in determining whether state law claims were preempted by federal law in each case? Wow, this is a study guide. Glossary of key terms. And this is amazing because what it's doing is gathering information from the sources that we have to create this. Let me see, what does convert to a source mean? Okay, let's look at this. It says convert to a source. Oh, wow. I'm impressed. And convert to a source means it just took it over and it made it as a source that we have in, like on the left hand side to gather information. Let's go ahead and minimize that. We're not going to use it as a source because we already have the documents. Okay. Let's go back to our studio. Jump to the bottom. Okay. And it had it in here as well. Okay. Let's go to our studio. So that's creating a study guide. Let's look at briefing doc. You see it's generating the briefing doc in the notes section. It's done. Oh no, it's not. Here we go. I thought it was. It is now. California labor law case analysis. So here's the briefing document, analysis of provided legal sources. This briefing document analyzes the main themes, important ideas, and key facts presented in the provided excerpts from the three legal documents: Morales versus Aramark, Berlanga versus Equiline Enterprises, and Sandra Diaz versus Grill Concepts, as well as Wang versus Chinese Daily News. So it does use four. Okay, it gives each case, the case summary, the main themes and important ideas, class action settlement, the jurisdiction, final class certification, settlement terms. Wow, this is amazing. I hope light bulbs are going off on the different things that you can do with Notebook LM. Okay, most important ideas, facts, a class action lawsuit against Aramark's regarding labor practices were settled. Okay, it gives more the court granted final approval. Okay, great, great, great. And it gives this information for all of the different um, lawsuits that we uploaded as our sources. Okay, unconstitutional vagueness argument rejected. This is amazing, and it's what free. All of the only thing that you need is to have a Google account. And one of the things that I mentioned in day 42 was you can use your personal account, or you can use like your Gmail, regular gmail.com account, or you can use your business account, your business account if you have a Google business account. Okay, one of the things that I do want to advise again, as I did the last video, whenever you're uploading sources, make sure you don't upload anything that's considered classified or confidential. All of this information that I've uploaded is public knowledge. I got it off of Justia, Justia. And yes, it's supposed to be private, and nobody else should see it, but I strongly warn against putting any type of proprietary, confidential, classified information in here. Okay. So this is pretty nice. All right. So we saw that part. Okay. And you see it has it right here. Here, frequently asked questions. Let's generate notes for that. Okay. Okay, frequently asked questions based on the provided sources. So it's gaining frequently asked questions from the sources that we have here. What was the central issue in the Aramark case, and how was it resolved? Which I believe that the facts are good too to generate, because like we mentioned, we were doing in the last video using the chat. You see down here where it has some questions that the chat model also provides that maybe you hadn't thought about, and you can dig deeper. But what if it doesn't have those questions here? Being able to generate a fax to learn more information concerning whatever sources you upload is pretty good. I like that. Okay. We're going to go back to Studio. And before we go to our audio overview, the last thing we're going to look at is our timeline. And you see it's saying generating based on 4 sources. So I'm going to click on it. California labor law cases, timeline, and key individuals. Here, timeline events, April 10th. Grill Concept opens a daily grill restaurant near Lax Airport and begins employing approximately 200 people. Oh, wow. So it's just going through from 2010. And again, using the information that we uploaded, it's giving information about the different cases that we can use. Now, one thing that I'll say, and just let me look before I make my comment. Okay. The comment that I was going to make is that it's not all the way in order, because you see it goes from April 10th to 2014, 2017, then back to April 10th. I mean, 2010, not April 10th. 2010, 2014, and then it goes to 2010 again after 2017. And one of the things that I was looking at is whether it's grouping the dates based on the case, and the answer is no. So this is this is a really good version. And in the updated versions, maybe that's something that they'll have. But for this to be like a newer release, I don't remember when NotebookLM initially came out, but in the future versions of it, maybe they'll group the information. It'll be either a true timeline, whether it's listing all of the dates in chronological order, or it's grouping them by whatever topic, or like for instance, for this our case, because you see for 2017 it has Berlanga Equaline. Well, then it jumps back to Morales and Aramark. Here it is, Morales and Aramark. So this October 12th, 2010, it actually should have been up here. And you see right here is November 2006. Okay. Again, yes, it's information that we have, and it's not all in chronological order, but I'm impressed. Okay, cast of characters. It talks about the principal people in all of the different cases. Now, this is grouped by the different class actions that were filed. Okay, this timeline and cast of characters represent the main events and individuals involved in the legal proceedings described in the provided sources. Awesome. So we have looked at everything in our studio, and I wanted to leave the grand finale for our audio overview. Okay. Let's take a listen. Now, I know it says 24 minutes. We're not listening the whole 24 minutes, but I want you to see the power of Notebook LM.
All right, welcome in everyone to the deep dive. We're going to be doing something a little different today. We're diving into some legal cases, getting into the nitty-gritty of employee rights and what employers are supposed to be doing, specifically when it comes to, those wage and hour laws here in California.
Yes, we're going to be looking at 3 different legal documents today.
Okay.
We have a final judgment in order granting approval of a settlement in a case involving Aramark. We're also looking at an order denying a motion to dismiss in a case involving Shell Pipeline Company. And we'll finish up by looking at an opinion from the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in a case between some employees and the Chinese Daily News.
So in this deep dive, our goal is to give you a good understanding of how these legal proceedings can really shed light on some really key parts of California labor laws. So we'll be unpacking things like overtime pay, meal and rest breaks, what needs to be on your paycheck, and what can happen to employers who don't follow these rules. We're going to be breaking down those core issues, the rulings by the courts, and just giving you a clear picture of these essential employee protections. So let's just dive right in.
Okay, sounds good. So why don't we start with that Aramark settlement?
Perfect.
So this case involved a class of current and former non-exempt employees of various Aramark entities in California, specifically their sports and entertainment and business and industries groups. And the class period for this case was from July 29th, 2005 to May 3rd, 2010.
And what exactly were they suing over?
Yeah, so the lawsuit essentially concerned their classification as non-exempt, and if they were properly classified as non-exempt, they would be eligible for overtime pay.
Right.
Now, the court ended up granting final approval of the settlement that was reached by the parties. And this means that both sides came to an agreement that they thought was fair and reasonable.
Okay, so it didn't actually go to trial. They settled beforehand.
Right.
Gotcha.
But before the court gave final approval, they did take some steps. They had to determine that the notice of the settlement that was given to the class members was fair and adequate, meaning that all the employees who were part of this case were properly informed about the settlement.
Right. They knew what was going on. They had the opportunity to object if they wanted to.
Exactly.
I'm going to see if it's going to let me join. So you see that basically this is a kind of like a podcast on the sources that we have. So again, in day 42, we looked at the chat, but if you're an audio learner or you like listening to Audible or different podcasts, this is a game changer because you can upload the sources and you can listen to it, give you a summary of the information you provided. Now, you saw that it said interactive is in beta. Let me see if it allows me to ask a question about one of the cases. Hold on. And I was trying to remember which case. I was trying to remember which case it didn't say something about, because if you notice, it only said 3 cases. But let me see if I can find the information, and I want to ask to see if it's able to gather that information. Now, let me go to the case law. So it said the Chinese Daily Network. I think I'm gonna say I'm going to say, can you give me some information about the Berlanga Equilon Enterprises case and see what it does?
Oh, hey, welcome. What's up?
Yes, hi. I have a question. Can you give me a little bit of information about the Berlanga versus Equilon Enterprises case?
Yes, hi. Thanks for chiming in. You're asking about Berlanga versus Equilon Enterprises, right?
Okay, let's unpack this a little.
So, this was a case that was filed in the Northern District of California,
Hmm.
and it involves some operators at Shell's facilities here in California.
Right, I remember seeing that name.
They allege that they weren't getting proper rest breaks during their 12-hour shifts.
Wow, those are long days.
They are, and the employees claim they had to remain on duty the whole time.
So even during breaks,
That was their argument, yes. They said they had to be reachable.
that doesn't sound like much of a break,
Exactly. They also claim they didn't get paid extra when those breaks were missed.
which is also a California law, right?
That's right. So Shell tried to get the whole case thrown out early on.
Oh, yeah, I think you mentioned that.
They argued that their union agreements, those CBAs, should take precedence.
Okay, the preemption thing.
Precisely. They said federal labor law should override the state claims.
But the court didn't agree.
No, the court actually denied Shell's motion to dismiss.
That's interesting.
The court basically said that California's rest break rules are a minimum standard.
So even a union deal can't go below that.
That's the idea. The court felt these state protections still applied,
Okay, that makes sense.
and they also addressed the extra pay for missed breaks.
What did they say about that?
The court
Wow. Not are you only able to, and you see it says beta mode. That was impressive for it to be in beta mode. Not only are you able to get an overview of the documentation that you upload, you can become a member of the podcast and ask a question. And you see, I asked about the Berlanga versus, and let me pull it up again, the Berlanga versus Equilon Enterprises case, and it was able to gather the information. And let me scroll down because I thought I saw it, where, and you see Shell, and you see it says CBAs. Here, Shell argues resolution of plaintiff's claims is substantially dependent on an analysis of the terms of the applicable CBAs, which is what they were saying. And basically, they weren't getting the breaks they were supposed to, and they didn't get paid overtime. And amazing. So that is it for the use case of using Notebook LLM. We were able to, again, use it as legal research and case prep. Not only, not only, I didn't mean to say not only. In this video, we were able to look at the studio and everything that is provided, the different tools provided, from audio overview, being able to create a study guide, a briefing doc, a frequently asked questions document, and a timeline as well, based on the sources that we uploaded. And just a reminder, you are able to upload 50 sources. So if you initially upload something, you find something else that you want to upload, no worries. You can go click add, and you're able to upload those sources as well. I am Shay Jackson, your AI automation specialist. I hope this video, just a lot of light bulbs are going off in the different ways you can use Notebook LM to automate your law firm. Have a great day.